Hello, 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 and welcome. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are on the planet. My name is Anthony Carter. I'm the host, producer, creative genius, madman, and brilliant mind behind a movement entitled Plant Powered Brothers. It is a movement dedicated to supporting Black men 40 to 60 who are committed to combating hypertension without the use of medication and the addition of a whole food plant based lifestyle. Let me say that one more time, like I do every week on Tuesday for the cheap seats where in the back. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the planet. Thank you for joining me. My name is Anthony Carter. I'm the host, producer, creative genius, madman, and brilliant mind behind a movement entitled That Plant Life. A movement, I'm sorry, not That Plant Life. Oops, sorry, retake. A movement called Plant Powered Brothers. Yes, this is live, folks. It is a movement dedicated to supporting Black men 40 to 60 who are committed to combating hypertension without the use of medication and the addition of a whole food plant based lifestyle. Now, I suggest you get yourself a good seat, get ready. Hopefully, well, not hopefully, definitely, I'm going to be dropping some very intimate and very clear truth bombs tonight. So if you have little ones, this may be the time to scoot them out of the room. We'll see how it goes. I am telling truth, and nothing but truth this evening. The name of this talk tonight is You Didn't Come This Far to Play Safe. Let me quickly add what I mean by safe. And before I do that, let me also add that I am doing a three-part series all about daring to execute, daring to believe in yourself, daring to do the unthinkable, daring to do what has not been done. So let me say that from the top, from the tippy top. I'll be doing this 3 weeks in a row. I like to do series. This is a three-part series. This is part one. So let me get that out of the way. Second thing, when I say play safe, I'm not talking about safety in terms of being reckless with your life or running out into traffic or doing what I see people doing on TV, jumping off buildings and swimming around with sharks. I mean, that may sound fun, but that does not sound safe. I'm not talking about that. When I talk about safe, I'm talking about safety. I'm talking about all the emotional games and the old okey doke we go for in terms of being safe and what that looks like. Also, I am not talking about this obsession we have with safety in children. Yes, there are evil people in the world. Yes, we should protect the babies and take care of them. But no, giving them all this fear around safety and then letting everybody pimp us out because we're afraid of everything, that's no longer going to work. That no longer works for me. So I'm talking tonight, and I'll be talking the next 2 weeks about what no longer works for me and what I'm kind of sick and tired of hearing. And I want to invite you all to join me. So instead of safety, think about resilience. I have taught for 20 years, and I have said over and over again, when I first started teaching, it was one thing. Over the last 20 years, we have become obsessed with safety and keeping kids safe and keeping kids safe and keeping kids safe. And safe from what, right? World, the way things are going, the politics, the way people are thinking, the way big people are doing all kinds of wacky things and have been doing wacky things, that is not keeping them safe. I prefer the term resilient. I have said that over and over and over in my classrooms about, well, I don't want to hear any business about a safe space, a safe space. You are living in America, you're living on the planet in the 21st century. There are very few places that are safe. What I want people to do, what I've cultivated for myself and hopefully the people around me, is a sense of resilience, which means you may not like things, you may not appreciate things, you may not understand why things are going on, but having the knowledge to know you can always bounce back and you're always going to be okay. So let me say that again. I am not for the safe space because I'm 57. I have rarely felt safe any place. I felt resilient and I've rarely felt safe. Okay, I'm going to talk about that today. So stick with me. I'm going to go off on a tangent too. You know how I like to do it. Let's jump right in. The title of tonight's talk: You Didn't Come This Far to Play Safe. You didn't come this far to play safe. What does that mean and what does that look like? Listen, I'm 57. I am a black, gay, I thought I was middle aged, but apparently I'm seasoned. I'm older than middle aged now. So I'm a black, gay, older gentleman who has been around the block more times than a good humor man. Yes, I know. That's an old joke. However, I have seen it all. I've heard about it all. I've had friends who've experienced it all. If you are living in this country, if you are a person of color, if you are gay, if you are a marginalized person, if you're a person on the edge who's living on the edge of society, you have experienced some things, right? Let's talk about the racism, the homophobia, the poverty, the drug addiction, the HIV and AIDS epidemic in the 80s, all of those things, right, that we have survived. If you are gay and you are in your 50s, you have seen all of that. You've lived through the 70s and 80s and that mass hysteria. Let's talk about that. Okay, you didn't survive all of that. I didn't survive all of that to just walk through life and say, oh, this is good enough. I didn't get through all that to be able to say this is good enough. Now, let me take you back and tell you a story or two, something very private, things I have rarely told anybody. I think one of these stories, or maybe two of them, the only person who's ever heard them is my husband. So you are getting an exclusive, my friend. You are getting an exclusive, my friend. So let's talk about, I talked about the 70s and 80s and growing up at that time, right? When I was a little black kid growing up in Detroit, folks didn't know what to do with me, right? I have been called punk, fag, sissy, faggot, fag, and worse things since I was 5 years old, right? I don't remember a time not hearing those things being bandied around, right? I grew up hearing that even before I knew what it was, even before I knew what I was. It was something I grew up hearing. Here's the issue with that. When you start hearing that, when you hear that over and over again, you don't feel safe. There is no place for you to go and be safe because the world was very different in 1975 and in 1985. To just give you an example, I remember being in high school, and I didn't know whether I was going to tell the story, but I think it needs to be told. I remember being in high school, walking down the hallway, minding my own business, and one of those epithets was thrown in my way. I don't know if it was fag, I don't know what it was. But the person said it under their breath to their little buddies and chuckled, and then had the unmitigated gall, and I'm shocked to even admit this, had the mitigated gall to spit on me. Yeah, I didn't say spit at me, I didn't say spit at my feet. Spit on me, right? And if I go back and think about it, I can feel the spittle sliding down like the back of my neck, onto my back in that area. That's kind of where I remember it, right? This was something that, and who was I going to talk to about it, right? So talk about feeling safe or feeling unsafe. That was in high school. That was many, many years ago. And this particular person who did this was the cousin of one of my best friends. So I'm going to leave it at that because it happened many years ago. And it's not something I forgot about. Okay. And if that wasn't bad enough, to add insult to injury, now this is somebody I didn't know that well, right? This is somebody in high school who was just giving me the blues, and that's what people do in high school, apparently, right? I never did that to people, but apparently it was okay to give people the blues in high school. So here's something that's even more shocking. When you talk about being safe, and you didn't come this far to play safe. Okay, you did not come this far to play safe. Let me say that again. I'm not going to be able to say that enough tonight. I can already tell. You didn't come this far to play safe. Here's the second story. Now, when HIV and AIDS came out, when it first hit, it was called the gay plague. We're talking about 1982, 83, right? I can recall a family member who is somebody I loved and trusted and looked up to, who told me verbatim that God did not want men lying with men. So as a result, he had come up with something to stop that. He had come up with something to punish men who did that. This is something I heard at 14 or 15 years old. Can you imagine being told that by somebody you love, somebody you care for, somebody you thought cared for you, who you thought cared for you, who you look up to, who you idolize, who tells you that? And all you know is there's something going on in the planet, and I think I might be one of them. So I have survived all of that, right? And lived to tell the tale. And that's why I'm here tonight. And that's why I'm encouraging people tonight and the next 3 weeks to realize you did not come this far to play safe. All right, safety is not the assignment. So let's talk a little bit more about what is the assignment and what safe and safety means and what it does not mean. Now, safe feels good until it doesn't. Let me say that again. It feels good until it doesn't. It becomes either a life strategy or a slow fade. A slow fade. What does that mean, and what does it look like to have a slow fade? First of all, a slow. Before I define what a slow fade looks like, let's talk about how these slow fades, how they manifest, what they show up as. Now, it is a gradual process, right? It doesn't show up all at one time. Nobody on the planet, myself included, nobody on the planet wakes up and decides one day, you know what? Today is a good day to screw up my life. Today is a day I'm just going to blow it. Today is a day I am going to finally, ultimately screw the pooch. Nobody wakes up with that. Nobody wakes up with that way of thinking. Nobody plans for that to happen. It doesn't happen all in one day. Nobody decides I'm going to screw up my life, destroy my life today. This is the day, folks. This is the day I'm going to do it. Nobody does that. This is what it looks like when you have a slow fade. You have an idea that doesn't get shared, doesn't get put out into the world. You have the book that doesn't get published. You have a relationship that has outlived its prime, it's past its shelf life, and you are either too scared to walk away or you feel that, okay, I'll just kind of suck it up and deal with it. Everybody's relationship sucks. Everybody's relationship doesn't suck, right? That is a slow fade. It's almost like taking a little bit of poison every day, taking a little bit of poison, and then one day you're dead, right? That's what I mean by a slow fade. It is not all one thing, it is not one event necessarily. It is a series of events, and you look up and you are so far gone, you're so far off the mark, you don't even recognize yourself anymore. I have done it. I've done it with jobs, I've done it with relationships, I've done it with jobs where I came in thinking it was going to be one thing, and I stuck around the fair too long. And I looked up and I had shrunk my life to about this big and was okay with it and justified it by overeating, undersleeping, being miserable, right? I have done it. I have done it all, folks. Now, safety or being safe is a setup and it is a setback. Like I mentioned a second or two ago, what generally happens is you look up and you've gone so far off the mark, so far off the mark. You wake up one day and you said, how in the hell did I end up at this point? How did I end up here? How did I end up with this extra 30 pounds? How did I end up with blood pressure that's through the roof? How did I end up dancing dangerously close to a stroke? How did I end up miserable? How did I end up hating the person that the day we got married, I didn't know I was going to end up hating them, right? Incidentally, there have been people I've dated that I've gotten so sick of. I'm like, you got to get up out of here, right? There was a person I was so outdone with. I was the only reason I didn't throw them down a flight of stairs, and I'll admit this, was because I didn't have bail money. And I couldn't figure out how not to go to jail. But that person, I've never seen anybody that nutty. So just, I'm not saying any names because I don't want to get sued. Don't want that. But yeah, I have been at that point where you've been so far gone, you don't even recognize yourself, right? That was playing it safe. That was me being in a relationship I shouldn't have been in. That was me being with somebody I should not have been with, right? Playing it safe. Well, this is better than nothing. Well, the fact remains it was nothing, right? And I knew that when I had these flashes of doing bodily harm to this person and had justified it in my head. Yeah, I could throw this person down these steps. That would be okay. We don't want that, right? We don't want a jail sentence. We don't want to go to jail, right? So don't do that. Okay, how do we get around that? Now I know I have covered a lot in a very short period of time, but now I'm going to talk about the anecdotes, the cure for it, the way to get around that, the way to give safety the boot, tell it to move along, right? You do that by being bold. What does that mean? All right. I don't know if you can see this, but in my space, every week since December 26th, 2023, every Tuesday, I come on here and talk to you guys. Every Tuesday, I talk about health. I talk about mental well being. I talk about eliminating stress. I talk about building community. Well, those are all things that I have around me. I don't know if you can notice or you can see everything around me, but I'll kind of walk you through some of the stuff that's on my wall that I use to be bold when it's time to be bold. To my over my, I guess this over my right shoulder is a poster I have, which is a bunch of young people in the 60s, 1963, being hosed, right? These are young black kids being hosed, having the ultimate in courage, being bold, right? Being loud, taking up space. Incidentally, people don't give you the space, you have to take it. That's what this podcast about is about. That's what this movement for Plant Power Brothers is about. We have to take the space of being healthy and taking care of one another. Period. End of story. On and on and on. All right. But I digress. Over my right shoulder here is a poster that I have, which is people during the civil rights movement, young kids facing dogs, facing um, fire hoses, right? Facing racist cops who are beating the hell out of them. Talking about being spit on and beat up. These people had to deal with that. This was only 60, a little over 60 years ago, folks. It wasn't that long ago. I have them right at my shoulder, right? So if I ever have any doubt, if I ever feel like maybe I should play it safe, maybe I shouldn't talk about this, maybe I shouldn't write about this. When I wrote on my blog, I was all out to the wall with it, right? I use these folks to tap into. I look at these folks and I say, it's time not to be safe, right? Keep that in mind. Over here to my left, I have my wall of fame, my folks that whisper to me to keep going, to keep pushing, right? I have a whole wall of folks who did not play it safe. I got Jimi Hendrix, absolutely love Jimi Hendrix. Above him, I've got an album that's framed of Mom's Mabley. Up next to her, the fantabulous Eartha Kitt, who I met many years ago. That is a talk for another night. I've got Eartha Kitt. Below Eartha Kitt and to Eartha Kitt's immediate right, I've got the goddess herself, Tina Turner, right? Who many times had to not play it safe over and over and over again. So you can do it too, right? These are people, this is how you're bold. This is how you choose yourself. This is how you show up. This is how you're allowed with it. This is how you make a decision to be bold and take up space. Like I said, nobody is going to give you the space. You have to take it. Incidentally, let me jump back to when I first started this health journey. This woman pissed me off when she told me the only thing I could do was take pills. I said, what is she talking about? I was that close to calling her out of her name, right? Because I went home and thought about it. I said, I've been through this and this and this and this, and you're telling me I can't beat high. You telling me I can't beat high blood pressure? I've been through this, and this. You're telling me I can't beat hypertension? Are you insane? So I had to regroup and pull it together. I had to make some decisions and do some things very differently. I wasn't going to have that. No, thank you. No, ma'am. No, sir. So being bold. Okay, we have covered that. So who am I talking to? I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you, black male, 40 to 60s and beyond. It is time for us to step up. It is time for us to dare to be different. It is time for us to stop playing it safe. Taking a doctor's opinions and swallowing pills and just waiting to die is playing it safe. What do you want to do with your life? Where do you want to go? Let me tell you what you're not before I tell you what you are and what you can do. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too old. You are not too fat. You are not too dumb. You are not too confused. It is not too late. You are not too gay. You are not too straight. You're not any of those things. What you are is out of excuses. Let me say that again. You're not too old. You're not too gay. You're not too straight. You're not too confused. You're not too focused. You're not too sleepy. You're not too tired. You're not behind. You're not too old. It's not too late. What you are is out of excuses. So come join me. Let's stop making excuses together. Let's give that up and come up with something different. This is part one of a three-part series all about daring to execute and not play it safe. That's over. So join me next week and the week after for parts 2 and part 3 in the Dare to Execute series, or DARE. I have an acronym, but I'm not going to drop it yet. I'm working on it. I have an acronym for the word DARE. I will share that with you in upcoming episodes. Now, I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully, you've enjoyed this. Please share it with a friend. Please share it with a family member. Take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones. Be good to your loved ones. Let your loved ones be good to you and take care of you. Get some plants on that plate. Eat like you got some sense and stay away from that deep fried foolishness. Okay, if you want to reach out to me, if you want to connect with me, if you are tired of settling, if you are tired of the excuses, if you want something different, if you are tired of playing it safe, come join me, join our community where we don't play it safe and we don't allow you to play it safe. Playing it safe will not allow you to live to be 100, 150, to see your grandkids grow up and your great grandkids. That's not what we're doing here. So if you are tired of playing safe, if you are tired of settling, please, please, please join me and the Plant Powered Brothers community. I have a calendar links. um, Please set up an appointment. We can do a 30-minute talk. We can come up with a strategy right then and there to look at why you're playing it safe, how you can do it differently. Okay, I'm going to talk to you soon. My name is Anthony Carter. I'm the host, producer, creative genius, madman, and brilliant mind behind a movement entitled Plant Powered Brothers. It is a movement dedicated to supporting Black men 40 to 60 who are committed to combating hypertension without the use of medication and the addition of a whole food, plant based lifestyle. Let me say that one more time, like I do every Tuesday, for who the cheap seats where in the bag. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the planet. My name is Anthony Carter. I'm the host, producer, creative genius, madman, and brilliant mind behind a movement entitled Plant Powered Brothers. It is a movement dedicated to supporting Black men 40 to 60 who are committed to combating hypertension without the use of medication and the addition of a whole food plant based lifestyle. Now, check us out on YouTube. I drop 4 to 5 new videos every week on YouTube. Check me out at Plant Powered Brothers. Join the community. Stop playing it safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.